So, well, actually, this is the syllabus that I used last year, and I just thought of showing it to you before creating the new one. So, my practice is that I always involve my students um, in creating particularly syllabus, no? Because this is like a map, okay, for educational experiences. Okay, I think someone needs me for a second lang. Okay. Uh, so as I was saying, my practice is that I involve my students now in creating the syllabus. Okay. Though basically we have here some baseline data which we can use. So it's my way of contextualizing the educational experiences for you. Okay. So in the next meeting days, I expect you to probably make some suggestions or comments on uh, how we can improve, how we can improve the learning experiences in such a way that we consider given situations that we're into. Okay, so you're only 19 now in my attendance. Maybe there are some more students who will join this class. So this week will be intended uh, for an orientation. Okay, maybe will be extended depending on your number. No? Okay. And then later, we still have time now. We can talk about some of the probably you know problems that we encountered last year, and so how to somehow have some solutions to this problem. So it's basically we don't want to constantly hear from students who always rant in the social media on their predicaments, right? Because everyone is not exempted. I mean, no one is exempted here, and everyone is on the same boat, right? In as much as you students encounter difficulties, we, your teachers, also encounter difficulties. Though basically, they vary in terms of gravity, perhaps, or impact to us because we have different backgrounds. And so I understand if some of you are not that as affected as the others or not as affected as your teachers, but we have a common enemy. And so instead of ranting or you know uh, making some unnecessary action, right? It's probably better if we become more optimistic in trying to go through this situation because we all know that no one really wants this to happen, right? And since last year, it's like we're caught off guard. No one was really ready for this. That's why the reason why you're here is because you're enrolled, and well, based on my assessment, you probably have something to offer, not to be able to uh, keep up now with our lessons, with our meetings, right? So you were able to somehow experience what it was like, to be in an online, to be uh, engaged in this kind of educational setup. Okay. One thing is usually misunderstood, no, by a lot of people that, especially this pandemic, a lot of people think that okay, education stops to exist, or probably they're referring to formal education. But for your information, education is everywhere. Okay, education is everywhere. It's not only an informal one. I mean a formal one. It could be non-formal and informal. So we learn from different settings. Okay. Now that we're affected by the pandemic, in the meantime, we cannot go to school and do the usual regiments that we do. But it doesn't mean that what we do now is less than what we usually do. What we usually do uh, for our education, right? It's like we're just so much we have just so much plunged into the idea of education must be, it must be equated with schooling. No? Schooling and education may have common ground, but they are entirely different. Okay, education, as I say, takes place anywhere. It takes place everywhere. You don't have to go to school. You don't have to physically go to school and learn because, as I always say, that the greatest lesson we can learn is actually from the hardest time, or from the hardest, you know, problems that we experience in life. And this is the perfect example of that. It's kind of it's kind of test or to the importance of education, right? So it doesn't mean that if there's an academic freeze, education also freezes. Of course not. It is such that a lot of people are not really oriented about the real essence of education. So we encounter parents who keep on complaining about their education of their children, especially those who are in the elementary or yeah, in the basic education. Uh, this is, what they are supposed to realize, that it takes the entire community to educate a child. Okay, that's from an American educator. Huh? You see that, even if, yeah, it's true that parents have to work to provide it for the needs of their children. It doesn't mean that, they just let the school to, facilitate such process for their children. So it's really a wake up call for everyone to be more responsible, right? To be more responsible amidst all these difficult situations that we're into. Okay, so again, the reason why you're here is because, not because you're just enrolled, but because you're able to somehow measure how it was like to be in an online class or having this kind of uh, setting. So I expect to hear less of, you know rants from you about our setting, because we, your teachers, are also doing the best that we could to mitigate the situation. Okay, so we just have to help one another. No, sometimes we make our situation as an excuse, right? Uh, for not submitting our requirements, for doing this and that, for not doing this and that. And I think it somehow tells about a certain level of maturity as students, which to me is a very important thing for a prospective teacher. That sense of responsibility, the sense of maturity in taking all of these things, right? Okay. Now, before we talk about, some of what you probably experienced as problems, in the first semester, okay, let me just walk you through the content of our syllabus. Again, this is from my syllabus last year, and I remember it was March when, yeah, I think a week before the midterm, when the community quarantine was enforced. And I remember this was actually one of the subjects that I was teaching. And to tell you the truth, it's really some it's really somehow timely because this particular subject teaches my students to plant their own food, you know, to have, to commune with nature, uh, to be literate about how to take care of the environment. So basically, even this pandemic, right? It's, well, not to mention if it's really genetically engineered. No, I mean, referring to the virus, uh, it may be because of what disturbances in our environment, that because of deforestation and all this illegal logging, you know, humans and animals have closer contact together. And so the virus from these animals could be transmitted to, to humans. No? And again, we only have ourselves to blame. Okay, we have ourselves to blame for this. So what should we do? That's why of all the subjects that I teach, actually this is what I really enjoy much, because I learn a lot, and these things can be applied in our daily lives, right? Um, there are a lot of things that, just like what I required my students last year, even before the pandemic, or even in 2019. No? In 2019, we were already talking about the possibility of a certain situation like this. No? I remember we were talking about zombies, zombies apocalypse, and I was asking my students if you were ready, no? How ready you were, when that uh, would come. Kasi apparently, parang we were talking about a certain drug. If I'm not mistaken, is it flocka drug or something that's going to turn a person into a zombie-like being? No, uh, so it's like we were talking about how ready we are. For instance, what if you're lost in the forest? No, but can you survive overnight, right? So what are the basic skills that you need to know in order for you to survive somehow, right? Um, so things like that, okay, things like that. So that's why a lot of my students appreciated this subject, simply because even before the community quarantine was issued last year, my students had already planted vegetables, because that's actually one of their final requirements, no, in this subject. And you see how hard life was. No, well, our lives now are better, I suppose, no, compared to last year. And there are a lot of students, who really got affected, seriously affected, by this pandemic. That their breadwinners lost jobs. They didn't have money to buy things for themselves. No, and it's a good thing. No, a lot of them told me na it, the vegetable gardens they planted, no, were really of big. Were really, were really of big help, to them. No, kasi naman it's really hard to start it, no, as the pandemic started, right? It would take quite a long time for your veggies to grow. So I was already teaching them how to make hydroponics, right? Vegetable gardens. No, they had seminars, no, about planting vegetables, no, even ornamental plants, no, kasi bago pa mag-pandemic actually, I'm already a plantaholic, no? I've always been a plantaholic since I was a kid. Uh, we used to, my mom and I used to plant together, uh, yung mga ornamental plants. And at some point when my mom left us, uh, that was in 2016, and that's the time that, yung urge ko to plant intensified. Maybe that's one of the reasons why. This is probably one of the reasons why people nowadays, no, have loved, no, gardening, because it simply gives them some sort of peace of mind. Uh, Napakaganda. Whenever I feel tired, I just sit in the garden, no, and appreciate what I have planted. No? Iba yung own joy that I can see or I can get out of seeing my plants grow, no? Even by centimeters, no? Uh, the more when I see them flower, right? And bear fruits. Yeah, because I also have planted some mga fruit-bearing trees. Yan. And well, I'm just telling you about that because I'm such kind of, I'm a kind of teacher who talks a lot, no? Who tells stories, um, who is more interested, about the situations of the students, the stories behind, because uh, this is where we can also learn from, from our own experiences. So uh, if your approach in your other subjects are kind of, academic, now this one, it's try to make it a little bit more, no, not just academic. Because as I said, what you will learn from this subject is something that you can apply in your daily lives. Okay? Ayan. So, napakalaki ng tulong, no, ng subject na ito for all of us. So, these are some of the learning outcomes, no, because but basically this will be changed, no, to suit our situations. One, you should be able to demonstrate ecological, knowledge on ecological environment, no, ecological literacy and eco-literacy. They seem to be similar, but they're actually different. Ecological literacy and eco-literacy. We will discuss all of this. And then ideas and concepts, no, that can be transformed into viable eco projects that can benefit the community. So some of my students, kasi aside from the garden, one of the projects that I asked them to do was to think of a certain eco project in the community and in the community. Now, from a very simple, putting up mga recycle bins to putting some or to posting some signage or posters on environment and how to take care of environment, no? Which can somehow educate people, no? Not just on walls, no? But yeah, basically still on walls, no? They can do it in Facebook, no? They can post such a campaign. It's like a campaign. It's like a campaign, right? So, ganon. And a lot of things. No? I'm just giving you some sort of ideas. No? What, kasi we will concentrate on uh, maybe about 4 requirements, no, in this subject, which you can do, which you can learn from, no? And which will be the basis of your grades, no, in this subject. And then your awareness, no? You have to demonstrate awareness on the environmental problems, issues, and concerns, that have affected the livelihood and the habitat of the mankind and animals. So I'll be sending you some research articles on the environmental issues in our country, say about illegal logging, about illegal mining, even about volcanic eruption. So there are articles on this which you should know, which you should read. Okay, ayan. These are some of the activities that you can do. You have the integrated method, meaning it's a mixture of two or more methods: reporting, brainstorming, debate. This is not these are not final activities. I'm just sharing with you what we had last time. And then probably the next time that we meet, uh, I'll inform you kasi we had our orientation, PT orientation on Feb 3. So I'll just keep you posted whether we would meet or not next meeting day. And so by then, by the time that we meet next time, I'll expect from every one of you of your suggestion, perhaps, on what to do, right? Okay, I have a lot of things in mind, okay? I have several ideas already in my mind, which basically will be uh, part of your requirements. No? Okay, so as usual, the first week is intended for class orientation, no? And maybe extended depending on the number of students who attended my class during this time. There you go. These are the basically the topics, no? What is eco-literacy? That's very basic. The Earth as a living system, no? We think kasi, we think that the Earth is like, it's just a non-living thing, no? It's a living system, meaning it's even complicated than what we know, right? Baka nga, this pandemic is sort of, balancing, no? The population of the world, right? Uh, kasi there's always this what we call homeostasis, no? The state of balance, no, on Earth. The reason why we experience all these distractions, that's how the Earth itself naturally balances the nature, no? Or naturally balances everything, okay? And then will discuss about eco-literate citizenry, right? This is very interesting topic, di ba? Parang napakaganda to also share what we know about the environment with other people, because what I what I want you to do is that whatever we learn now from this subject, I expect I expect you to apply them, in your situation, so in your lives, okay? Like when I say vegetable garden is one of the projects, of course, no? Uh, you really have to do it, okay? You have to do it, no? And a lot of other things, no? Titignan natin. And then, and also, let me know um, about your requirements, no, from other subjects, because I might be integrating, no, some of them with my requirements, so it wouldn't be that repetitive. Okay. I was telling the faculty when I presided over a meeting, general faculty meeting last time, to work, no, for them to work collaboratively. That, for instance, no, in terms of requirements, they can talk about, you know, similar requirements. So, say for instance, if your English teacher asks you to write an essay, and for instance, your science teacher asks you to have a reflection on a certain science concept, then probably you can fuse them together. No? You can have one output, no, for the two requirements, which you can submit. But basically, it depends on that will depend on your teachers, whatever they like. And so, at my end, I want you to inform me about certain things. So, because so I was thinking, one of the requirements would be a garden, no? And another one would be, uh, I know you're familiar with TikTok. Are you? TikTok. No, not the TikTok that you usually know, no? But the TikTok, or the transformative and informative knowledge talk. That's the webinar I organized last year, no? And I was really overwhelmed, no, by the response of the people, actually peoples, no, from across the world, kasi they were also participants from other countries, no, like in Africa, like in Europe, no, Asia, and of course Philippines. No. They were really interested, to learn, from that kind of webinar. And now I am thinking, since you're already second year, uh, of you facilitating a TikTok, okay, on environment. There you go. Okay. So it's either you'll talk about the speakers, maybe you or another person. Say we may invite someone from DNR. This is how we, this is how we integrate the community, in our subject. It's very basic. Someone from DNR to give us a lecture on uh, forest or anything, that they want to, or anyone So start looking for a person or a couple of persons who can give us a professional on certain certain topics connected to our subject. Like you'll be about food security and uh, so that's a very good. Probably we can also think of certain research. For research we can do. Okay, that's how it is. So in the center of excellence, it should always be research based. And more research must be research based, not just a textbook based approach. Okay, so then of course there are other articles here that I have read. I included last time. Understanding climate change. We often hear of what climate change is, and about volcanic risk perception. I remember last time, last year, no, it's really the most horrible year, so far. Kasi the start of the year last year, there was a volcanic eruption, like January. At that time, mga calamities. So somehow these subjects would, somehow inform us about how to understand these calamities. And this conservation management ecosystem is a very interesting research article. And then the Muslim plants, which is indigenous people in the Navajo, no. I want you to somehow this semester I'm actually teaching Filipino Indigenous communities, and one of the research interests I have is Indigenous education about Indigenous people. Yeah, yeah. And then freshwater fish found on watersheds and mountain healing forests reserve. And then yung type mo na regular life experience ay Leyte. So may mga researches na on this. And we can probably think of pwede naman natin gawin na requirement natin sa isang ongoing research. For instance, your project is the output of that particular research. Pero yun, so ganun gawin natin. So, we will just focus on probably forming the requirements. Ayan. Okay, forming requirements. Para hindi na tayo, masyadong hirapan din. And for your information, I'll be giving you these are some of the these are the references. They're readily available on the internet. Yan. Bago rin po itong course requirements, no? May echo journal noon. I asked them to, I asked them to do their own notebook in my subject. Yeah. So, mga recycled materials, and I taught them how to create an echo journal. Ayan, a position paper, echo project, and then activities. It's an educational tour. Supposed to be, well, we had somehow in the school. When we went to Babusu, I toured the area. I asked the caretaker to discuss about the different types of bamboos. Ang dami nilang natutunan. The education tour doesn't have to be like going outside the school, right? It just happened when wala ako PNA and the students parang requested na wala na lang meeting. So I asked them to get out of the classroom, and then, we really see the nature, right? Parang may echo tour habang nagdidiscuss ako, lumilipang kami sa campus. Ito yun. And then we talk about PC, may mga birds or insects, or these are the things that is in the nature. Ganda sana, no? Kaya lang, nalilimitahan tayo. Yung critique ko on that TED talk yan, it's from the TED talk. Are you familiar with the TED talk? TED talk. If I just I type in the chat box, your answer. If in case you need to say something, you may just raise your hand. So, meron dyan merong nudger. May nudger din kasi dito eh. Yung parang mga emoticons. Ayan. Mga emoticons. For instance, this one. Ayan. So, kapag pinindo yan, raise your hand, ibig sabihin, meron kang gustong sabihin or itanong. Okay? Or you can just type it in the chat box. Okay, so that I know if you're still listening to me. Okay? Ayan. That's clear? Or just because you have to inform me. Kasi may mas nagtay-tay so sabi lang tayo sa salita. Okay. This is somehow I say the normal, pero I think this is what we have to practice. Like someone speaking, we have to learn to listen. Right? Wait for our turn to speak. Okay. So sorry. Uh, yung attendance would only ano, attendance here won't be required. Okay? Sa online class. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, kasi ayoko na marinig from my students na hirap learn na namin. I'm so scared to see it. So I won't be like that. I mean, I'm not always being too conscious of that. I just my students as long as they can study it on the project. So they think it's necessary for them to listen to me to join the classroom on the Google Classroom or the Google Meet. Then did it. Okay. And besides that, I'll be giving you a certain schedule kasi alam ko naman your level of units. It may be burdensome on your part, okay, to engage in online class. I was also telling again other teachers na huwag naman every meeting din sila online class with you. I mean, ako kasi, as long as I'm organized na lahat, we're working on our PE, there's syllabus, once everything is organized, magbibigyan tayo ng schedule for online meetings. Ayun, maybe just a week per month, no? Yan. Para hindi naman tayo every meeting na online. No? I know how hard it is na sa finance, kundi sa health. Kasi too much exposure no, sa radiation, for instance, no, sa laptop or cell phone for more than 3 hours. It is not doing not too good to you. Kaya, definitely minimize. Pero kapag wala na tayo meetings, it only means that you have to allot our schedule for your requirements. Okay? Next is about deadlines. I'll be posting some deadlines. And I'll be posting some deadlines. Maybe even the deadline that will just be extra points. Pero kung hindi, don't say hey. So do not inform me na hindi nakatapos sa isang deadline kasi ganyan. Wala na ano yun. I cannot listen to you about it. Just sa deadline requirements. Okay? Kasi as much as possible, on our board for the deadline, let's use the deadlines you'll be reasonable. Kasi ang na-experience ko naman as a problem is that try to listen to my students, majority of my students also the requirement goes to the end of the semester. So, problem was, nakakalap ko ng mga check. And I had my checking the requirements because I even had to, look at my computer, assessing, nakasama, and then that's why trying to minimize and you want contact with it. We can mitigate the problem by distributing the distribution of this requirements across the semester. At hindi yung minsanan. Get my point. And we'll talk about reasons or usually that's what they do is just performance tasks. Given this kind of performance tasks. So you just focus on doing your paperwork and other projects and that will be good. Okay. So mababag itong grading system na ito. No, no, depending on the weight, depending on the weight of a certain requirement. Okay? Yeah, yeah. So do you have any question or points of clarification? Okay, so you are now 21. How many are you? How many are you? This is supposed to be this section. Okay, anyway, by the way, I will also create an FB group, okay, for this class. Because I think it's not faster for us to communicate one another using an FB group. And I appreciate that we already created a chat group, okay, for this class. Yeah. Okay. So now, do you have anything in mind? Anything to say? Let me hear it from Miguel Salvador. Miguel, can you hear me? Is Miguel with us? Still in the room?
Hello, sir. Good morning po.
Yeah. So anything you would like to say about subject or probably about your experience last time, so you can have some idea of how to address this problem.
Sir, wala po.
Sorry.
Sir, wala po.
Wala. Okay. Who else would like to speak? Actually, I have also proposed for a race station to put up in our college. But apparently, some of the teachers, but not majority of them, are that supportive of the idea. My only my only interest for that radio station is for the students to have a different option, another alternative for using a radio. Like what some of the schools have been doing. I have already coordinated with someone, and okay, let's not equip that. And I was still waiting for the support of some of those in the higher up. Ayan, they're kind of parang pessimistic about the idea, even if we see that it's very helpful for students, especially those who live within 2 kilometer radius from the school, because it's going to be a free radio frequency we can use for education purpose. So it's also good, no? Kasi ako, for instance, last semester, I required my students to do a radio drama, instead of a dramatization or filmmaking. I required them to do a radio drama, a result subject, and then it's really interesting. It's really interesting. They enjoyed it. They learned from it, and at the same time, I also enjoy checking their outputs, because I just have to listen. Even if with my eyes closed, I can still do the job of checking there. Kasi I'm not sure if you're familiar with radio drama, or kung nakikinig pa rin kayo sa radyo, but actually, napakaganda na it's always good to go back to basic. Talagang, because there's this one time na kapag kinig ako ng isang radio drama, and parang nag-flashback yung mga dati rin na oo nga, maganda ang radio drama kasi it evokes one's imagination with drama na kahit na naririnig mo lang siya. And it's really effective. We learn so many things then through our sense of hearing. And sana maituloy yung radio project na yan. Supported yan ng PTCA, because I also introduced them to PTCA. Hindi lang ako dito sa ibang mga teachers na I don't know kung anong basis nila for not supporting the project. I tell you, even the president of the AU supports it. Kaya sana in case you may show your support for the radio station. May mga teachers kayo na pwede mag-broadcast ng lesson instead of kasi, di ba, the problem is internet connection, very unstable most of the time. Pero pag radio naman, rin siya, kumbaga very stable siya. And at the same time, napaka-minimal lang ng gadget, the price of gadget that you have to buy, right? So look at I have here hahanapan mo lang siya ng Kita niyo ba to? Yan. This is a crank radio, handcrank radio ito. Yan. This is worth less than, I think, about 300 pesos. And what's good about this one is, meron ng flashlight. And at the same time, rechargeable siya, solar, at pwede mo siyang i-charge through this. Ikot-ikutin mo lang yan. Yan. Okay. So, this is what I used last year nung nagkaroon ng typhoon sa atin. No? Pagsagap ng balita. Yan. So, kaya, I think this is a very, parang very practical and efficient communication tool, which you can use. Imagine, you can just use this. You don't have to buy, for instance, yung mga expensive gadgets, no? Or connect through internet, no? If you are with at the radios, then you can have this one. You can listen to your teachers somehow, no? Or to lessen din yung internet expenses natin. No? At ito, kahit bagyo, siya, malinaw yung reception niya. Ang internet, kapag bagyo, wala na. Minsan kahit walang ang bagyo diba? Ayan. Pinagtag ko, pero hindi tinadhana. Yan. Diba? So, sana siya matuloy. Matuloy yung radio, radio station natin. Kung magkakataon, tayo ang pinakauna sa buong university. Diba, pagdating, when it comes to announcement, extension, ganyan. Kasi, a lot of schools then, in other parts of the world, have been using radio in their instruction. Tinatawag natin itong radio-based instruction or radio-aided instruction. Kaya, ginagawa ngayon sa DepEd schools kasi, naman, maraming mga estudyante ang walang internet connection, walang mga laptop, walang ganito-ganyan. Kaya, ang ginagawa nila, they identify those students na wala talaga, alam naman natin, ang buhay natin, at parang they group them, for a certain kind of delivery mode. Okay? And this is the reason why I ask you of your, situations. Like, last time, may estudyante ko na hirap, nagtatrabaho pa siya, frontliner daw siya. So, yun lang. You just have to constantly communicate with me, negotiate, kung may problems, para masolusyonan kaagad. Okay? Now, remember, we're trying to transpire still quality education despite all these problems. And without your help, we cannot do anything better. Okay? Kaya instead of, I think, whining, complaining about this and that, help us solve the problem. Let us help one another to somehow, go over this hurdle, difficult hurdle, and then let everyone emerge to be victorious, right? Napakahirap ngayon, di ba? Sinabi nila ang ating GDP is comparable to our GDP just after the World War II. Ganon kahirap ang ating bansa ngayon. Okay? Ganon din sa mga ibang bansa. And for sure, nung World War II, education stopped. No? Kasi I also teach Philippine history, and I ask my students to interview rin some of the survivors from the World War II. And I learned many things from the interview transcripts, from their interviews, kasi ito yung mga hindi nakasulat sa libro. No? So, ang dami mong pwedeng matutunan. No? how their lives were during World War II. This is another world war. This is pandemic, no? This is another world war. And you see, it has the same effect, no, to our economy. That is why we really have to be more creative. We really have to be more resourceful. Diba? Siguro yung iba, maganda ang buhay. But you can also think of ways by which you can help other people then to have a fight, to have a fight, against this pandemic, di ba? Ganon. Okay, so I'll not be consuming our entire time, no, for today. We'll just be posted. You'll just keep. I'll just keep you posted on whether we would meet next time. No? Kasi, as I said, there will be an orientation, practice teaching orientation, and I'm one of the supervisors. And but basically, we will just use the time in preparing necessary materials. Okay. So even if you don't meet, you can still message me through the chat group. If there are still questions, points of clarification, and some suggestions for our subject. Ayan. Okay. Anyway, ano pa rin naman natin ito kumbaga titingnan natin lahat, of course, ng possibility ng lahat ng ito. Ng mga requirements natin. Considering your requirements sa ibang mga subjects. Okay? Meron pa bang tanong or concern? Okay, hearing none, I guess class is dismissed now. Goodbye.
Bye, sir.
Bye,
Bye,
sir.
sir. Goodbye, sir. Thank you.